Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. I do have a really special video today, and that is because I decided to do a Q&A to celebrate reaching 500 subscribers. So I do have some questions that I'm going to be answering today, but first and foremost, I just wanted to say thank you so much for subscribing to me and watching my content. And when I first started, I did not think that I would even get to 500 subscribers. So it's been such an enjoyable experience just joining BookTube in general. And I cannot say how much I appreciate the fact that I've been able to be part of this community and that people actually watch and enjoy my videos. So if you have subscribed, watched, liked, commented, thank you so much for being here, for engaging with me, and I am so happy that you're here and I appreciate it. So I did put out a little call for questions. I basically just said if anybody has any questions that they're interested in asking me and having me answer, as long as they're reasonable, then I thought it would be really fun to learn a little bit more about me and celebrate this milestone in that way. So I do want to say a big thank you to the people from Gregory Lepurch's Discord, because the bulk of these questions are from people on there. And I love you guys. You are so fun to be around in that Discord, and I really appreciate you giving me questions. So the first two questions are from Stephanie at Miss Richards Reads. And so the first one is, what is your favorite non-book related activity or hobby? And so this one, for me, it has been different in the past few years because of COVID, but my favorite non-book related activity is for sure easily playing sports. I have played soccer my whole life, and I've also played competitive volleyball for a good chunk of my life. And of course, these things have been put on hold for the most part since team sports were not a thing for the past few years. And I can tell you that with the world hopefully getting more back to normal, this is what I'm looking forward to so much, because I love playing sports. It's one of my favorite things just in general. And then Stephanie's second question for me was, what is your favorite magical creature and why? And so for this one, I'm gonna give an answer that's sort of an answer, but sort of a non-answer, because my idea for this is animal companions in books where the bond between animal and human is actually magical. So I really like it when and a lot of the times this happens with dogs and wolves. I find wolves. So I guess that would kind of be the answer, but I really like when a character actually not only having a connection with their animal, but a connection that's actually magical, whether that means sharing some of their mind or warging into their body. I find all of that stuff super cool. So I would say that that is my favorite magical creature. The next set of questions is from Kate at the Almost Book Doctor, and Kate asked me a bunch of questions, but they are all great questions, so thank you so much to Kate for the questions. But the first one is, what would your dream job be now that you've finished your master's? And so my dream job is one that's not actually super realistic for me to get, but maybe I will work my way there. But my dream job is actually right now is what's called a medical science liaison, because I want to get a job in the pharmaceutical industry. And the role of a medical science liaison is essentially to liaise, as you might gather from the job title, between pharmaceutical companies and doctors and specialists and things. And their role is to make sure that doctors are up to date on the newest research regarding drugs, and make sure that they're educating healthcare professionals on updates in the pharmaceutical field, and making sure to have good relationships with healthcare professionals so that they can help those healthcare professionals then best serve their patients with the newest technology or drugs or compounds that are going to be right for them. And that type of job just sounds like the ideal role for me, because it would be in my field, it would be still scientifically based, and I am really interested in research, so it would require keeping up with new research, and it would also have like a huge interactive component where like the important thing is you building relationships with these doctors, and like you are kind of their touch point when they want to contact the pharmaceutical company about something. So basically everything about that job really appeals to me, but the thing is, you pretty much have to have a PhD to get that job, so I'm still gonna try, but we'll see. The second question that Kate asked me is, who is your favorite female character that you've ever read? And so I'm gonna separate favorite from what I think is best female character I've ever read, because I don't think that she is, but I am gonna say that my favorite is Hermione Granger, just because like when I started to read the Harry Potter books, I felt like I was Hermione, and I feel like a lot of like girls who are maybe more nerdy or into books did feel that way with Hermione, but just the fact that like I was reading her growing up, I really did identify with her, and I loved Hermione, and that has lingered on. So I mean, I could probably think of another answer for this if I really tried, but she was the first person that came to my head, so she's the one I'm gonna go with. The third question that Kate asked me is, who is your favorite hockey player? And the answer to that is William Nylander for the Toronto Maple Leafs. And if you are in the hockey sphere, you might know that I got quite a lot of crap for William Nylander being my favorite hockey player, but I love him. He is, I mean, he's an amazing player, but I also just like love him in general, like as a player and as a human. So he's great. And I think that a lot of people after the Leafs' most recent playoff series are finally coming around to just how good he actually is. He was one of their best players, and I was really proud of him for that. I was really happy, even though I was sad about the outcome for the Leafs. So. And then Kate's fourth question is really making me wish that I prepared for this instead of just answering these questions now. But she said, if you could have dinner with any 3 people, dead or alive, who would they be and why? I'm not gonna lie, my mind is a complete and total blank right now for this question. So I think what I'm gonna do is I will think about it, and then I'm going to insert a clip later that has my actual answer, because I do want to answer this question. The next couple of questions are from Greg at Gregory LaPerche, and the first one that he asked me was, if there was a zombie apocalypse in the United States, which US-based booktuber would you let live in your basement? I feel like Greg is just coming straight for me with this very real question, but I think that the only fair way to answer this question is, instead of going with someone that I actually know, I'm gonna go with Murphy Napier, because she was the channel that made me discover BookTube in the first place, and her content was the only stuff that I was watching for probably about a month before I discovered that BookTube was an entire community. So even though it's only been like a year and a half, I feel like I have a lot of BookTube nostalgia associated with Murphy and her channel, and also her family is just adorable, and her cat, and everything. So I would save them. I would do that. The second question that Greg asked me was, what is your favorite season and your favorite activity to do in that season? And this is actually a harder question than I thought it would be, because it's almost like depending on my mood, I have a different favorite season. But my favorite season is definitely either fall or summer. And I think if I had to pick summer, I think that summer is going to edge out fall, just because my favorite activity to do in that season is going to be going to my cottage, and we can't go to the cottage too far into the fall because it's not winterized and we close it. So summer edges out fall, because I absolutely love going to my cottage. And based on when this video is going to go up, I do believe that I will just have posted my cottage reading vlog, so you should definitely go check that out if you want to see what I'm talking about, because my cottage is one of my favorite places. The next couple of questions are from Anitha, and the first one is, what is the first book or series that you picked up after finding BookTube? And I can't remember if this is actually the first one that I started reading. I think it was, but it was the Stormlight Archive, because I had never heard of Brandon Sanderson before I started watching BookTube, and obviously the Stormlight Archive is one of the most popular series going, so it didn't take me too long to start hearing people talk about it, and what I heard about it, like how epic it was and everything, made me want to pick it up. And so I started it in July of last year, and I'm pretty confident that that was the first like fully BookTube inspired series that I picked up, and boy was it a good one and a good choice. The second question that Anita asked is, what are 3 must-visit places in Canada? And so I can't speak to, I'm not going to speak to the entirety of Canada, despite what I think might be must-visit places. I'm gonna actually only talk about like places that I've actually been to, because then I can have direct experience with them, if that makes sense. So the first one that I'm going to say is like the Calgary area of the Rocky Mountains, because in grade 12 my club volleyball team went to nationals, which like nationals for volleyball, which were in Calgary that year, and my family went a few days early so that we could spend some time in the mountains in Banff. We went to Lake Louise, we saw like a bunch of that area. It is so gorgeous out there. Like, it is one of the most beautiful places on earth, and I would so recommend going to see the Rockies. And then Calgary is a really nice city as well. So that was kind of all one trip. But really it would be like, Banff is kind of touristy, but you get to be out in nature, and it's gorgeous. And then the other 2 that I'm going to say are going to be Toronto, because I believe that Toronto is like a beautiful city. It's the biggest city in Canada, and there's so much to do there. It's a really nice city, and I do think that anyone who wants to come to Canada should put Toronto on their list. And then the third one I'm going to say is Montreal. So I've been to Montreal twice, once with my mom and once with my friends, and the same things that apply to Toronto basically apply to Montreal. Like, Montreal is a beautiful city. It is, like, you feel so safe walking around there. Like, it has like some gorgeous neighborhoods, a really nice waterfront, a lot of great restaurants, and it also has McGill University that's set onto the like mountain in Montreal, and you can go up there, you can climb it, look out at the city. There's so much to do in Montreal, and like I said, it's a beautiful city. So obviously there are other places, like I personally desperately want to go to BC and Vancouver, but I've never actually been there, so I don't want to put it on this list, you know? But there are so many good choices for places to visit in Canada. The next couple of questions are from Pete at Ponderings of Pete, and his first question was, if you were a bird, what bird would you be? And I feel like I would be something sort of majestic, but not too big. Maybe some sort of bird of prey, like a falcon or something. One of those birds that's like really pretty, lives in the wilderness up here, and kind of just like lives its life and has a good time. The second question that Pete asked me was my favorite fantasy world. This one is honestly really hard to choose, but I think what I might go with is the Wheel of Time. Is that what I want my answer to be? I don't know. In my head right now, I'm like, is it A Song of Ice and Fire? Is it the Stormlight Archive? Is it Wheel of Time? But the reason that I love all of those ones so much is because I love like a really vast, immersive world that there is so much to learn about that you then do learn about as you make your way through the books. And all 3 of those series have that. So I honestly don't know. Like, I just filmed a video earlier today talking about the Wheel of Time, so maybe that's why that one feels like it's edging out in my head right now, but it's so hard to pick. The next question was from Charmaine, and she said, you're the newest member of Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Who do you want to be assigned a case with first? And this is such an interesting question, but I think that I might actually choose Amy. because, I mean, I love the entire squad, but I feel like Amy is somebody that I would work well with because her and I have a lot of similarities, but we also have enough differences where I feel like I could learn a lot from her, but I also feel like we would get along. And I think that she's a total badass, and I would really want to see how she works firsthand. But it's like they would all be good choices. Okay, the next few questions are from a user on Greg's Discord whose name is Social Teist, and I don't believe I actually know your real name, I'm so sorry, but your first question was, if you could only eat one type of food for a week, what would it be? And I feel like anybody who knows me in real life knows the answer to this question already, because it is going to be pizza. Everybody who knows me just knows how much I love pizza. I can't resist it, and I feel like there's enough variety on what you can do with it that I could handle eating it for a week, because it's amazing. The second question was, what is the most aesthetically pleasing or beautiful book that you own? And I think that the most aesthetically pleasing book that I own is my special edition of Mythology by Edith Hamilton that I have shown in a couple of videos before, but it's not actually accessible for me to get up and get it right now. But it is absolutely gorgeous. I will put like a picture of the cover up, but that book just has such great illustrations, like the way that the type is set, the hardcover, like the way that it's done. The entire book is just so gorgeous. So the next question was, what is the oldest book that you own? And I was gonna go with this in terms of not like publication date, but the book that I physically have owned the longest. And it's actually gonna be a first edition of The Philosopher's Stone, because my mom bought that for me. That book came out in 1997, if I'm not mistaken, and I was born in 1997, so my mom bought that for me like right when I was born. So basically by default, I have owned that book my entire life, so nothing can beat it out. The next question was from Circe's Booked, and her question was, have you traveled anywhere fun or cool and to share a good memory? So I did talk about this a little bit when I talked about the destinations to visit in Canada. So since I talked about those, I will talk about one of my favorite travel memories ever is I got to go on a cruise of the British Isles. And this was back when I was like 12, but obviously I was young, so like I couldn't do some of the things that I would do now if I went to the UK, but I was old enough to experience it and remember it and have a great time. And so I got to visit so many places. Like we went to London and Paris before we actually got on the cruise, but then we basically went around the entire island of the UK, and we also stopped in different places in Ireland. And I just remember, like, for example, how gorgeous the Giant's Causeway was, and like we got to go to Liverpool and we got to go to places in Scotland, and like there's just such a feeling when you're over there of how like old a lot of things are, like when you get to see castles and you get to see like Westminster Abbey, and I don't know, I loved seeing all of the culture that was there, and so I would love to travel to Europe one of these days and see like more like history in the city, because there's so much culture in Europe. So that was like one of my favorite trips. And then the last questions that I got were from Ben, from Overly Average Ben, and the first question that he asked me was, what is your favorite sporting memory, playing or spectating? And the one that first comes to mind is a game that I was spectating, and this was a next generation game that the Leafs do this thing where they have next generation games where the focus is all on kids. So they have like child announcers, like kids going up with the players before the game, kids like running everything, and it's meant to be geared towards kids. So I actually went to one of these games in 2019, and it was the Toronto Maple Leafs versus the Carolina Hurricanes, and the Leafs went up 3-0 within the first like 5 minutes of the game, and everybody was losing their minds because they scored 3 goals so quickly. It was crazy. And then they fell behind 5-3. They allowed 5 unanswered goals because they're the Leafs. But they ended up coming back like in the third period and winning the game 8-6. And that is like the single craziest game that I have ever seen in my life. At the end of that game, I was losing my mind. Like, I love going and being a sports fan in person and screaming my head off. It is so much fun to me, and that was the most incredible game. Ben's second question was, what is your favorite song or album at the moment? And the one that I want to pick for this for an album is by Rina Sawayama, and it's her album Sawayama. And I don't know how to talk about music. Like, I don't know anything critically, like, analysis wise about music, but that album is just like the type of album where I can play it over and over and over and over again, and I haven't yet gotten tired of it. I absolutely love it. So I will leave a link to like Spotify in the description with that album if you are interested. I absolutely love Rina. And Ben's third question is, what is your favorite thing about Canada and why is it Tim Hortons? And I think you already answered the question, Ben. Why did you already answer the question? And then the final question that was submitted anonymously, I don't know who asked this one, is what would be your dream non-bookish occupation? So I actually just talked about that, I feel like, when I talked about what my like ideal job would be in my field. But overall, I just want to thank everyone so much for submitting these questions to me, and I hope that you like learning a little bit more about me, because I definitely love like engaging with you guys in the comments. And again, I just want to say thank you so much for subscribing to me. I truly do appreciate that that there are people actually like watching the content that I make, because like I do this for fun, you know? I do this because I enjoy it, so it really is a great feeling to know that there are people who want to be part of this community with me. So I think that will be it for this one. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed it. Like if you liked the video, subscribe if you want to see more content from me, and I hope that you have a fantastic rest of your day. Bye!